Hi, I'm Bob Nystrom.
Hi, this is Bo Dietl.
Hey, this is Rich Big Daddy Salgado.
Hi, this is Doc Goodney, and you're watching Sports Biz.
Sports Biz.
Sports Biz with LD. Sports fans, this is Sports Biz with LD.
Welcome to Sports Biz with LD. I'm your host, Larry Davis, brought to you by the Rampart Insurance Group. For all your insurance needs, rampartinsurance.com. 388 Restaurant and Lounge, 388 Willis Avenue in Roslyn, New York. A1 VIP Entertainment for all your tickets and meet and greet needs. And Easy Porn, located 14 or 15, I think they're up to 15 locations throughout the city. You have something and you think it's worth something, Easy Porn is your place. You can find me on Facebook, SportsBiz with LD. You could tweet me at SportsBiz with LD. And of course, the website, SportsBiz with LD. And of course, got to thank Daily Blue. Without the Daily Blue, you would not be able to see me. And my co-host for the day, Ben Amato from Frosae. What's happening?
Life is good. And every day it just gets a little better.
And it just gets a little more Frosae, as we say.
Definitely. When you're dealing with wine, it makes you very happy to go to work.
That gives you a nice little buzz.
Definitely.
On the phone, I want to bring on right away a very good friend of mine and the show, the leading authenticator of autographs, in my opinion, in the world, not just the country, Mr. Jimmy Spence. Jimmy, how are you, buddy?
I'm doing great, Larry. Thanks for having me on.
My pleasure. I know we talked about having you on so many times. Jimmy, explain to everybody exactly what your company does and when you started.
Okay, well, we authenticate autographs of notable figures, whether it be sports, entertainment, music, historical, whatever somebody finds collectible, we authenticate the autograph, and it adds value to that autograph.
I would say so, because I think people try to sell the stuff, they put it on eBay, and when people see your JSA hologram on there and your certificate of authenticity, people know that with you they'll get the most money out of it, because some of the other companies out there do not have the stellar reputation that you do.
Well, we're fortunate that we authenticate for every major auction house in the country. With that, on eBay, any given day, there's got to be at least 100,000 items that have a JSA letter of authenticity tagged onto it. And what that does is it just adds interest, and also hopefully the price is reflected as well. You know, it gives people confidence.
Jimmy, man, over 100,000, man, that's a wow. I mean, that is great. I mean, tell us how you started and built this empire.
Well, I originally, dating back as far as I can remember, I'm a third-generation autograph collector. Both my father and grandfather, both collectors, both worked at Yankee Stadium, in fact, so they built up their own collection. I was, I guess by osmosis, I was involved in it at a very early age. And when I got into my 20s, I decided to become a dealer. I set up at shows, did mail order. And after a while, I noticed there was just so much turmoil in the industry and so much lack of trust. I was concerned about people's collections, my own as well. That, you know, it was the wild, wild west. So I decided that I was going to stop selling. And I went into authentication. I got a certificate in forensic document examination. I already had, many people that, followed me and wanted, my authentication, and I just made it more formal. And I started it up, and started up a company out west, sold that, and then about 10 years ago I started up JSA, and here I am.
And how many employees do you have, Jimmy?
Well, we have two locations, one in Parsippany, New Jersey, the other in Fort Lauderdale, and full-time workers about 25, and there must be at least another 15 part-timers, and then there's got to be another 30 consultants that we have that we also tap their brains, as far as their expertise. Some people have specializations in certain fields that, I may not be as sharp on, and they help out the authentication process.
Well, listen, I can't blame you to have a second location in beautiful Fort Lauderdale, Florida. I mean, that's a good idea.
It's a good way to commute.
It was a good idea that I had, and somehow my son who is the lead authenticator down there and the manager down there. He beat me to the punch, and he ran down there, and he's enjoying it tremendously.
Yeah, I'm sure he is. Let's get to a couple of things in the news. I mean, you and I agree on this, that at this point in time, the collegiate sports athletes should be getting paid something. We don't know what and how much it should be. But through Johnny Manziel last year and Jameis Winston, so you had Johnny Manziel, the Heisman Trophy winner of 2 years ago, and then the Heisman Trophy winner of last year, Jameis Winston, both signed autographs. Everything made a big deal of it. But the thing about it was they signed these autographs, and whoever it was, we're not here to ask you who brought them to you. They brought them to you to authenticate. So explain how that works. And of course, you don't really care who brings it to you, but that's really much what happened. Is that correct?
Well, what we are is a third-party authenticator. We don't buy or sell. Items are brought to us, sometimes in piecemeal, sometimes in quantity, and items are brought on to, are submitted, whether we're on the road. We've been in 38 different states authenticating. They're brought to our office. They're sent to us via mail. We actually go and authenticate for people in their homes or their places of business. Some people have warehouses. Whatever the case is, these items are brought to us. People sign a submission form, and then they're asking us for our opinion. And pass or fail, they pay. And whether or not it, if it passes, they get a letter of authenticity. It goes up on our website. And it's a collective effort. I mean, it's no one person is chiming in saying, this is valid. It's done by committee. So there could be up to 20 people opining on just one item, and we want to make sure it's right. So, no one person gets too powerful in my company, myself included, as far as issuing a letter of authenticity. So
to answer the question, so the Manziels and the Jameis Winstons, if you can answer this, were they all real?
Oh, yes. As far as we're very confident of the authenticity. In fact, it's really not really been a question. It's just, it's up to, other people to decide whether or not they should or shouldn't have signed, whatever. I mean, that's not my business. I'm there to get it right, whether it's valid or not.
And let's talk a little bit about the book before I let you go. You have a book published. Tell us where we can buy it and tell us what the book's all about.
Well, the book is about team baseballs. I've probably viewed more team baseballs than anyone in the world. We get them in on a very regular basis. The balls are signed by every team. It's a tradition that started sometime back in the early 1920s. And the balls somehow usually made it into, just dignitaries or people that knew someone in the ballpark in the early days. And sometime in the last 20, 30 years, they've been available for sale for collectors, and players sign a tremendous amount of these balls before a game, and there's up to 30 signatures on a ball generally, and it's always a distinct year. It's not, they don't keep a ball around for any length of time. It's always signed by a team. We figure that out. We see sometimes there are clubhouse balls, which sometimes the clubhouse personnel signs for a player.
Yeah, so how would that work? So, Jimmy, if someone has a ball, right, Ben, and have 30 signatures on there, and I recall this when I was doing business with you, Jimmy, we still do business to this day, where I have a ball with 30 signatures on there, and a couple of them end up not being the player. They were signed by someone in the clubhouse. I mean, you must have a lot of people who are very upset when that happens.
We have a huge database of over 500,000 examples, and we show from year to year in chronological order. We have the evolution of a person's autograph, so we can tell you what it looks like his rookie year right up until his death, and we know who the culprits are. We keep track of the bad boys of the clubhouse personnel that signed for them. So we have examples at any given year, such as Babe Ruth. I might have 150 examples of what Ruth's autograph looks like in 1926, and maybe 250 examples of what it looks like in 27, and so on and so forth. I mean, it's comprehensive. Even with the bench warmer guys, we keep track of their autographs, and it builds every day. Our exemplar file, hundreds of items go into there a day. images.
It's amazing. I mean, Jimmy, you got to come in and co-host the show with me because there's so much to talk about here. Where can everybody go? If I have something and I want to send it in to you, tell me when your website and all that good stuff and how it would work if I have something and I'm here and you're in Jersey and I can't get to you. Can I mail it to you? Tell us how we can do that.
Very simply. I mean, I mentioned we have the 2 offices, but if you want to come to either office, don't necessarily need an appointment.
I think I'm going to the Fort Lauderdale office, by the way, if I want. That's just me.
All right. Now, you bring it by the office. Usually it's about an hour to turn around. And then people mail things into us, or they have us come to their homes if they've got a large enough collection. So, on our website, it'll tell you all the different shows and conventions that we do around the country, and that's SpenceLOA.com. It has any given weekend in the United States. We're probably at 4 or 5 different locations, being able to authenticate. I think I mentioned before, we've authenticated in 38 different states, so we cover the land pretty well.
Well, I would just say there's over 50 states, Jimmy, so I think you're slacking on that, buddy, so you better start working on that.
Yeah, we haven't been invited to Wyoming and Montana yet, but I doubt someday we'll be there.
Jimmy, there seems to be a tradition now in baseball, and I guess in the other sports, where a player announces in advance they're going to retire. Does that increase the value of their autograph?
It gains a little bit of steam, not much. I mean, I see more when they go into the Hall of Fame, or even if there's a tragedy or a death. If there's a tragedy early on in a person's life, that affects it more. We see a tremendous amount of autographs from an individual. I mean, just in recent years, I remember when Michael Jackson passed away. We got a glut of his autographs, in good and bad. Obviously, the forgers are going to step up their game, but as far as some people, it's like a 2-week window. If a guy dies, perhaps when Bob Feller passed away, maybe we got maybe 2 weeks. For 2 weeks, we were busy with him, and then all of a sudden it drops off, and water kind of seeks its own level. But there's some people that have tragic deaths that really affect the value of their autographs.
Now, does other
even
types of...
like Neil Armstrong, even though he was, elderly when he died, there was a big interest in his autograph after he passed away.
Does other types of notoriety affect the autographs? Example, does Alex Rodriguez's signature change when he's on steroids or off steroids?
I don't think that's going to make that big of a difference.
Well, he's always been on, so what's the change?
Point. Well, he must do it faster and harder. Maybe that's the thing,
Yeah, I see more of a difference when there are people that are sitting down doing their autograph as opposed to what they call on the fly. Those are harder to authenticate.
Yeah.
Some go inconclusive because it is such a hurried, rushed autograph. It's kind of like one of those get-out-of-my-face type autographs. So there are times we do go inconclusive with autographs.
Jimmy, I got to have you back. The great Jim Spence, JSA Authentics. Go online. You can find him. Send your stuff in there. Jimmy, I'll see you around, buddy. I appreciate you calling in. And I know you were a little busy last week in Cabo in the pool that you forgot to call
My
in.
apologies on that one, but believe me, anytime you want me, I'll be happy to do your show.
Thanks, Jimmy. Take care, buddy.
Go on.
He is the leading guy out there. There's not even a question. There are other companies out there, Ben. And the problem in that business, we'll get to your great product in a second. You might have some competition, but yours is probably more delicious than the others. In his business, it's either in or out. It's pass or fail. You're pregnant or you're not.
Exactly.
And those other companies have a little shadiness going on. That the leading company is JSA Authentics. Jimmy Spence, a good friend of the show. So
in 1971, I actually won a contest where I got to play at Yankee Stadium against George Plimpton's All-Stars. And I got to play... Oh, thank you. And I got to play right field, and Whitey Ford pitched, and Mickey Mantle played first base. Rizzuto was on short. Joe Garagiola caught, and I played right field. And the most exciting part was... Well, actually, the exciting part was when I tried to rob my uniform. They caught me. I was wearing number 6, Roy White's uniform.
Roy White.
And he was an amazing player.
Roy White's like the forgotten Yankee.
I know.
Number's not retired.
Same with Bernie.
But first let's get to Roy White. Played more games in left field than any Yankee in history. Switch hitter. Right, won a couple of World Series in the late 70s with them.
Exactly.
Homegrown guy. You know, when I see Roy, and I should bring Roy on the show. I mean, we talk about it all the time. I mean, they don't talk about it. And you're right, and you get to Bernie Williams. But I know Bernie well and his agent, I think next year they are going to retire his number.
Good.
But Roy White, I mean, come on. Roy White, what did he play, 20 years for the Yankees?
Exactly. So one of the highlights of that was I had them all autograph my mitt, to which I immediately put it in plastic. But, you know, 30, 40 years, it takes a toll on autographs. I was hoping to ask Jim if there's any way to restore autographs.
Well, you know, my background, as you probably don't know, I was vice president of Steiner Sports for about 12 years.
Were you
so I'm really
really?
an autograph guy, right? So questions you're asking him, I could have answered as well, but Jimmy's a great leading guy. You can't restore them. Once they start fading, they're fading. It is what it is.
Yeah.
But, you know, again, if you have a great collection like that, you know, it's still sellable. Just the autographs aren't as clear as they were, of course, when you got them. But you got to love that. That's a great story. I didn't even know that.
It's an amazing story.
Well, let's talk about this story. I mean, where did you come up with this Frosae? I just tried it. It's delicious. Frosae wine sorbet. Tell us how this started, Ben, because you're a retired teacher with that beautiful pension you told me about.
Oh, it was a great pension. And as soon as I retired, I had 2 years where I got on my sailboat and I just sailed away. And that was great. I kept going around Long Island. And
again, coming back to the same spot.
Yeah, basically. But the nice part was wherever I ended up on Long Island, I did some writing. That's one of my passions. And I wrote for Dan's paper and Hampton's Online. Newsday, I did an education book for them.
What did you write about?
Using the media to teach reading and writing.
That's
With the idea
different.
being, hey, the kids are going to be listening and watching TV and movies and film. Why not use that interest to teach them the skills they need to really understand things? And that was wonderful.
So what day on the sailboat did you come up with this Frosae idea?
Actually, it was September 2010. And was reading different articles. Mostly when I retired, I needed something to put my portfolio on, because whenever you go into a media company, they want to see your portfolio. And it got so big that I decided to build a website with it. So that way, if they wanted to read something of mine, they had a place to go.
Right.
Well, a lot
For all
of
your
my
followers or everybody who wants to see all your stuff.
Exactly. And what happened was, eventually, my friends all wanted websites. And one of my buddies ran an ice cream store, and I built him a website. So a November day came and he said, hey, it's the end of the season. I'm bored. Find me something to do. And I just read about a brand new change in the law with New York State that said you could put wine into a frozen dessert and it's considered a frozen dessert, not an alcoholic product, which meant no liquor license.
Also, depending on the level of alcohol, or no?
Keep it under 5%.
Keep it under 5. What's
and
the
it could
normal?
be
If I had a
sold
glass
anywhere.
of wine, how much
17.
is it? Okay.
Anywhere between 13 and 17.
Okay.
So I told that to my friend, John Pastor. And the next thing you know, about 3 months later, he found the way to freeze wine. And once we had that formula, we knew we had something good. So we started going to the wineries. We started to go and talk to people about forming a business. And my other two partners, I was co-writing a book, actually ghostwriting a book on education. And when I brought it to Joe Gagliano, and he was the retired superintendent who I was working with, he just said, my God, we've got to do this. And we formed a company, and we're the only one in the country. Nobody else is making wine sorbet.
It is delicious. So where am I finding this? Like, is it in the grocer? Is it
Actually,
in the supermarket?
yes. We're in 11 different King Cullens. We're in about 30 or 40 different restaurants
Now,
across
wait,
the
explain
country.
that to me. Now, you said you're in 11 King Cullens.
Yep.
Now, explain how, again, it's a sports business show. It's all about business. Why aren't you in all of them? Or is 11 them? You know what I mean?
They
I don't
have
understand
42.
how that works. Right, so how does that work? Right.
They have 42, and they decided to give us a test in their 11 top-selling establishments. So we're in Island Park, we're in Manhasset, we're definitely out east. We're in Cutchogue, Bridgehampton, Hampton Bays. Their most popular one, Manorville.
Would not have known that. And how well is it doing in supermarkets?
It's getting along, except for one thing. Nobody knows you could freeze wine.
So, like, if we go and look at it, let me tell you, the packaging is great.
Thank
I
you.
love it. I was saying to the guys before I came on the show, I love the crown. You know what I mean? I love the black and gold. It just looks great with the red. It looks great. And I would think once you find out how delicious it is in the beginning, you got to love the packaging.
Oh, definitely.
You know, you got to say, hey, that looks pretty cool. Oh,
it's got to catch their attention.
It's got to catch their attention. Now, would you ever in the future, like, have your own stores, like just your products in the store, like a Baskin Robbins, like a Carvel, something like that?
What we're finding out is it's better to put it in other people's stores. Give you an example. We were about to go into Citi Field, and the Dolan family tasted it. They loved it. Their major distributor, Aramark, loved the product too.
Aramark, yes, I know of them.
And it turns out that Mr. Softy owns the frozen food rights.
Really?
So instead of going into Citi Field, we had to start to negotiate with Mr. Softy. And
Right.
Mr. Softy is Mr. Tuffy.
Exactly.
And now what we're doing is we are approaching these other companies with the idea of them adding us to their menu. So right now, we have a distributor called 3G Vino.
Okay.
And they're negotiating with Rita's Italian Ice to get us into the Barclays Center and get us into Madison Square.
That's super, man. I love that product. Let's get to another passion. There's little sports. I call this off my chest. A couple of things I want to talk about. Let's see what you're thinking. So all the baseball awards came out.
Yes.
I know you're a baseball fan. I know you're a Yankee fan. But if you're a Yankee fan, that means you're a baseball fan. So NL Rookie of the Year is for the Mets, Jacob deGrom. What did you think of that? Do you think Jacob deserved it?
Yeah, definitely. Anytime you make an impact, you know, you have to be recognized. And
well, you would look at the record. It was only 9-6. You say, well, you know, what kind of record is that to win? But, you know, here in New York, we got to watch him more. He was a dominating pitcher.
Definitely. But even then, you know, there's always that rookies make mistakes.
Right.
So the few times that he got hit, you just got to shake that off and go on. And the key is he did that. There's a certain amount of maturity. There's a certain amount of intensity that, you know, it's easy to be overwhelmed.
Yeah, that's true, and especially in New York. And let's move to the American League Rookie of the Year, which he doesn't look like a rookie. There's Jose Abreu, who's a Cuban defector. The White Sox, my God, he had a .317 average, 36 homers, 107 ribbies, and almost a .600 slugging percentage. I mean, this guy dominated in the American League.
It's fun to see players come from other places.
Yeah,
you know,
you're right.
Baseball is the American pastime,
Right.
but the fact is, it's worldwide. And to see stars from other countries come here, it's wonderful. You know, and I don't know if they, like you said, I don't know if they should be considered rookies. You know, they ought to come up with another, you know, import of the year. You know, that might be good, you know.
Like wine. You know, they import wines of the year
and that could be sponsored by Kia, could be sponsored by, you know,
well, let me ask you a
Hyundai.
question about the wine you use. Is it all American made? Is there imported wines? Could you have those differences? Like this product is American wine, this one has imported. What about that?
The nice thing is we came up with the formula, and we decided to go to market with 3 types of wine. Now, the red and the white is always going to be a Long Island regional wine. Okay. And this year we went out to Peconic Bay, and we used their Merlot and we used their Sauvignon Blanc. Next year we're going to be going to Jamesport Winery, and they have a tremendous variety of wines.
And I'll tell you, that's where you can come into and using it in the sports business and the autograph business, the limited editions. You know, you can go and do stuff with certain wines and do it in a limited packaging, a limited amount, and people gobble that up because there's only X amount out there.
We do it even better. If a bride is having a wedding and she's having a certain type of wine at that wedding, we make the dessert that is from that wine. And that's like the ultimate pairing.
Love that.
So they eat that up. But the chocolate Merlot, we actually have to import. There are no American makers of chocolate Merlot. And a chocolate Merlot is a rich red Merlot that's infused with Belgian chocolate. And that's made in Amsterdam, so we do have to import that. But as soon as an American company comes up with that, we're going to be going to that.
But they can't bring over marijuana. Like in Amsterdam, you know, marijuana, so they can't sprinkle that in there, right? It's not allowed? Can't get that in?
It depends which state.
Or it depends, right? Because in New York, you saw like they held up on the front page of the Poster today the amount of marijuana you can have now.
Exactly. But then again, you have Arizona. And what cracked me up, did you hear what Peyton Manning did with the pizza company out there, Papa John's?
Oh, I see it on commercials all the time. But what did he do?
He bought all of the franchise rights to Arizona. And he did this just prior to the legalization of marijuana. And now it turns out that more stoners are going to Papa John's than anywhere else. So, that is a smart
So does
businessman.
that mean they can make a marijuana pizza? Can they put marijuana on pizza?
I can see
wonder.
that coming.
I can
exactly.
see that.
Now, do you
Accomplishes
eat it or
both in
smoke
once.
it? I don't know.
Let's move on. So the NL Cy Young and MVP, which hasn't been done since 1968 with Bob Gibson and Denny McClain. Clayton, I can't pitch in the postseason. Kershaw. What do you think of that?
I was never comfortable with the fact that the playoffs were not considered as part of the MVP award. And I feel that if you're going to be up there on that pedestal, you ought to be up there on that pedestal on all occasions. Regular season, dynamite, it's the big long marathon, but you know what? You should be able to win the sprint.
Good point you're making. I agree with you. And think about it. You're a Yankee fan. All that matters to a Yankee fan is what? Postseason. So you want to talk about, Joe Girardi could sit here and say, oh, we had a good year. George put it to this level that the Yankees don't win the World Series. Sorry, that's what the Yankees have done. Making the postseason is not good enough. That's just the way they built. Getting towards the end of the show, so I want to get a couple more things in here with you. We're speaking of Ben Amato from Frosae Wine Sorbet. Wait, are we singing or is there an echo in there? Couple of things left. Mike Trout. AL MVP. Boy, is this the heir to the Derek Jeter throne as the face of baseball?
You need him.
You need him.
You need him. You need a poster boy. You need the branding.
Right.
And to brand it on somebody who's that exemplary, you got to. But at the same time, I like the big city markets.
And he's in L.A.
Yeah. Yeah.
He's in L.A. and there's a big ticking market. The other thing I wanted to bring up to you that I read this morning in the NBA, there's going to be a problem in the NBA, it looks like. Michelle Roberts, who's the first woman, and I love this. I love women in business, I love women in sports. Hopefully you have a woman on your board, I would hope. Michelle Roberts, who's now the executive director of the NBA Players Association, and their deal is coming up, I think, next year, is pretty much saying to the NBA, to Adam Silver, the commissioner, without the players, you have nothing. Now, he's come back and said, without the vendors, without the people like you selling your product in there, without the owners, without the front office, it is a team. And she is pretty much saying it's looked like we might have a strike in the near future in the NBA because she's looking to get a lot of the piece of the pie here.
Once the glass ceiling is broken, okay, sometimes... it's just a standard operating practice when you're dealing with negotiations. You've got to stake the high ground. You've got to put your position out there. And with her breaking the glass ceiling and being the first female leader of a union group like that in sports, she's got to talk tough. But then again, that's only the opening round. We've got, 18 months, 24 months?
Very good point.
You got to start from somewhere.
It's got to start somewhere. So I love the product. Tell us again where they can get it, which stores have it, the website.
Thank you.
Can they get delivered to my home? Tell us a little bit more before we got to go.
Well, we're in 11 King Cullens. Go to our website, Frosae.com, Frosae.
Don't forget that A.
You got to switch those letters. And you can get it in those retail stores. If you go to our website, we have a map with about 40 or 50 different restaurants we're in. And they stretch from B.B. King's in Manhattan all the way out to Montauk Point.
And then you told us also you're working on the Barclays Center in MSG. I love that. That would be great.
Can't wait to get free tickets to go there. But along with that, we've just started an internet program where you can order on the internet and it'll be delivered to your house the next day.
I love that. And then the other thing I love about, like you said, with the wedding gifts, with the wedding parties, because you're looking like the M&Ms now. The M&Ms, you can go on the M&M website and put anything you want on an M&M.
Exactly.
So hopefully you're going to be able to create that for everybody as well.
And everybody has a favorite wine, so it works out really well. And one other thing, we're also experimenting with hard apple cider.
Wow.
And that's really good. But the most amazing was rum. And we did this with rum, but the problem is you get too drunk too fast. And we had Harrah's and Caesars down in Atlantic City talk to us. So we made a special batch of rum for them. And It was amazing. So the future is unlimited, and we're going to try to meet the demand.
On the note with the rum, you get too drunk too fast. I want to thank my sponsors. Rampart Insurance Group for all your insurance needs. RampartInsuranceGroup.com. A1 VIP Entertainment for all your tickets and VIP needs. 388 Restaurant and Lounge at 388 Willis Avenue in Roslyn, New York. Again, all in
There it is.
guests. All our guests right here in the studio will get a gift certificate. That is for
Thank you very much.
You're very welcome. And let's not forget Easy Pawn, 15 locations throughout the New York area. If you have something that you think is worth some money, Easy Pawn is your place. They will give you cash on the spot. SportsBizWithLD.com, at SportsBizWithLD, and our Facebook, SportsBizWithLD.com. I'm Larry Davis, SportsBiz with LD.
Sports Biz is sponsored by the Rampart Insurance Group for all your insurance needs. Special thanks to MintPros.com. Brought to you by the Daily Blue Network. Sports fans, this is Sports Biz with LD.